Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of the Six-Sided Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, the Taxman, and this week's episode is going to be a ton of fun. I'm joined by two very special guests, two guys who are super knowledgeable, both in wrestling and in Impact Wrestling as well. You will be hearing them very shortly in the Impact Wrestling Review. First off, I just got to thank, we have a couple of new subscribers to our YouTube page. However, I'm not sure who you are, so I can't give you the good old shout out. Once again, if your YouTube page is set to private, you actually don't appear in my subscribers list, so I don't know that you've subscribed to the channel, therefore I can't give you a shout out. But if you drop me a line, I will definitely make sure to get you your shout out and a little plug at the kickoff of next week's show. Speaking of which, you can find us on YouTube. Use that wonderful YouTube search bar, Six-Sided Podcast. You can also follow me on Twitter at @6_podcast. And you can drop me a line anytime. Shoot me an email, sixsidepod@gmail.com. No numbers or gimmicks in that one, just straight up sixsidepod@gmail.com. I love to hear from everybody, and just as usual, I'll try and make this show as interactive as possible. And in keeping in with the interactive theme, I will now be joined by two very special guests of mine to review this week's episode of Impact Wrestling. Alright, so I'm very pleased to be joined by some special guests this evening. I have Trent and Kyle from the HEADZ Network. How's it going, guys?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having us, man. The Six-Sided Podcast. I'm excited. Been waiting to come on here.
So we actually had a kind of an inauspicious start. Maybe you don't know this, maybe you do, but in the very first episode I ever did, I accidentally, without knowing it, ripped off your guys' intro for your show.
No, you're talking about Chef. It's not me or Trent. That's one of our
yeah.
affiliates.
But
he's a very animated character.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that happened. That was a thing. And like the comments are deleted now, but I was like, yeah, for sure it was. But just kind of funny how everything kind of goes full circle in the podcast world, it seems, nowadays.
Yeah, no, you know what, man? Just real briefly, I think he had his intro song based off the WCW NWO song, and then he heard yours was the same, and I guess there was a little, whether on purpose or not on purpose, a little friction there, a little, disagreement there, whatever. But it's nothing, man. We're all here, we're hanging out.
It's always nice when you get heat right off the bat. Hey, nothing like a little bit of heat, so.
Yeah, it's more attention, man.
Yeah.
It's other people, showing you attention. Fuck it. It's better than no comments, right?
Yeah, that's true enough.
Heat sells tickets, boys. Heat sells tickets, don't forget.
Well, and you would know a little bit about that, Trent. Not for yourself personally, but I see that the company that you work for, suspended a big name this past, or actually, I think the news came out today, actually.
Yeah, we broke the news today. Sami Callihan has been suspended for excessive violence. He attacked some referees. He was extremely brutal. If some of the clips are online, they're floating around. They're out there. There'll be some more coming out, I think, that's and processed and whatnot. But he was pretty much off his rocker this past Saturday at the Wrestling Rules show.
So if anybody hasn't checked out that clip, I'm sure you can find it on Twitter pretty easily. Yeah, quite the brutal beatdown and treatment of a referee at an AAW show this past week. But I assume at this point in time we should not really count anything out of Sami Callihan's realm here. So I don't know if you were able to catch that one, Kyle, or not.
Yeah, you know what? It's one thing when he slams the guy through a table, but then when you start bashing his brains in with the chair, it's like, come on, man. Come on. Leave him alone, Stop.
Listen, if you guys see that clip, man, I mean, he's laying those chair shots in, and the referee is he's under there good, man. I mean, he really took it hard. He was pretty messed up after that. It's pretty intense, man. It was an intense moment. I caught myself just stunned watching the whole thing go down. We were all kind of the room really felt quiet almost, and we were like, oh shit, what's going on here?
So I'm sure that if anybody is listening to my program, they probably listen to you guys, but I don't know if you want to give a quick spiel about yourselves, kind of what your other program is, and how we kind of interweb here, or intermingled, if you will.
Oh yeah. Well, we run a little podcast network, the HEADZ Network, HEADZ Network. Follow us on Twitter, just like that. I've been doing podcasts for a little bit. I go back to, I'm sure you're familiar with BQ. I used to be on the King of the Mountain show with BQ. That was like the first podcast I did. I liked it. I wanted to really just do my own thing and break out from him, break away from him and what he was doing. And slowly but surely, I've been getting my own thing together, finding my own groove, linked up with my buddy Chef. And we did a couple shows here and there, nothing too consistent. But then more recently, we linked up with Trent over here, Mr. Trent Zuberi. And we've just been swinging for the fences, just banging out these Impact reviews. And my approach is a little different with what I do. Like, I try not to go for YouTube wrestling fan doing just the bare bones review. But like my background and what I'm into, I'm very big into like classic like morning radio shows. So like I like to break things down into segments, and I love the sound effects. That's a big thing with me. The sound clips. I'm sure if you listen to our show, you've heard a few throughout, and I just have a different approach to everything, and just moving along. It's all a work in progress, and linked up with my buddy Trent here, and things are going to get better from here, and I think it's important that, as you know, all of us having our own little podcast, we all kind of have the same goal. Like, a lot of us, we are just Impact fans that we're just sick of having no podcast to listen to. Positive ones, if that, you know, a lot of the, whatever was out was people kind of just complaining and shitting on Impact. And I'm sure your story's similar. I'd love to hear it. But, like, speaking, you know, from my end, we just wanted to, you know, do it ourselves, pick up the ball in our own hands and do our own podcast.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better than that myself, to be honest. Like, there was so many podcasts out there that it's just, how much can we shit on this product? And it was like, Jesus Christ, you know.
There's nothing to listen to. I can't tell you one off the top of my head. I would sit there on iTunes and just Impact Podcast, Impact Wrestling Podcast, because I was a fan, loving the show every week, but there was really nobody on the internet outside of, you know, just the haters. So many haters, man. It was ridiculous. So I just decided, hey, start my own Impact podcast. Fuck it.
What's interesting about the haters, though, the theory what I subscribe to in that regard is that if you are going to invest time to talk about something, you have some investment in it because you have some interest in that product. Because if I hate something, like truly to the core hate it, I don't talk about it. I don't give a shit to it to waste my time talking about it. So these guys, these haters they're funny to me because you know they're watching. That's the funny part. They're watching it. They're watching the clips. They're investing time into this, and they just want to play that other side of the card. This is that kind of thing, just because whether it's popular to do or whatever. But I've realized, I've seen now in the last regime, I've seen that dwindling lower and lower. Those like blatant haters are dwindling, man. There's more likers coming up. I'm seeing it at AEW shows. I'm seeing it online. Less shittier comments than before. It's hard to deny when something is good, and I think that's what's happening now. I see more of this kind of stuff coming out. You know, R2 podcasts, and there's I know Impact's doing one now with Garrett Kidney and another gentleman at the company. They're doing one now, so we're starting to get our voices out there more. And I think people have previously hated it, are listening to these podcasts and thinking, you know, shit, I should check this out. It actually sounds pretty damn good.
Hey, Impact Unity, you know, Impact Lives Matter. How about that one?
I always find that, and you know, not just in wrestling, but in life in general, it's a lot easier to hate on something rather than to talk about the positives and put a nice spin on it. So I find that's what I found coming into this. I'm not sure about you guys yourselves, but all the ones that were doing all the hating, it was like you could see right through it that it was so lazy, and that's why, and it was so easy, and that's why it was done. It's there for the hits, right? It's not there for for creating any talking points or creating a positive dialogue or anything like that. It was just, here, this is easy. I'm just going to shoot fish in a barrel. Well, now you're finding a lot of less fish in the barrel to shoot at, and now you're really seeing those kind of podcasts going by the wayside because, like, let's be honest here, the product itself is so good now, comparatively speaking, that you can't just sit here for an hour and poke holes and whatever and do that kind of thing. So I really do see a downward trend in that kind of podcast, and that's just better for all of us, to be honest.
You know what, though, dude? It's like, it just blows my mind, though, how, like, throughout the years, because, like, I love wrestling, but to be honest, and me and Trent talk about this all the time, I hate wrestling fans. And
they're actually the worst.
To do with Impact Wrestling, because throughout the years, it's like these toxic, just pathetic loser people, due to just spending way too much time watching wrestling and just sitting on the internet, that typical image of the fat guy in the basement with the neck beard, they've created a subculture of hating on Impact. They call it LOL TNA, and they have an entire just subculture dedicated to it. But to be honest, if you put any wrestling company in front of me, whether it's WWE, WWF, WCW, Ring of Honor, even Ring of Honor, it's not so perfect. If you put anything in front of me and give me the time to sit there and nitpick it and pull apart each and every negative aspect, it's like, yeah, anybody can do that. Anybody can present something like that. But guess what? Those people took the time to watch every single episode. They took the time to watch every single pay-per-view. So it's like, really, like...
So who's really losing there at the end of it all?
Exactly, who's the loser? So it is what it is.
It's easy to sit there and hate something. I mean, look, I'm a great shit talker. I love, ragging on friends, talking shit. It's easy to do. It's easy to talk. It doesn't take that much effort. It takes effort to go invest and watch something and find good things to say. I mean, think about it. I mean, how often do people spew compliments as opposed to, spew criticisms? I mean, people do all the time. It's just, the internet's made it very easy to do that. And that's a sad thing, that it's made it so easy for people to just verbalize nonsense with no merit. Especially with no merit. That's the thing that gets me. But I think, like we just said a few minutes ago, you're dwindling a lot because it's hard to deny when something is good. You cannot stop talent. You cannot stop, quality. And I think it's because it's rising constantly. Even those people are coming around.
Yeah, I have to agree. And speaking about talent rising and things being on the up and up, we're going to get into this week's Impact review. So we're just going to break down the matches here just real quick. And then because you two have such interesting points of view and are quite different from mine, not in terms of kind of how you view something, but maybe your approach on how you view something is a little bit different from mine, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But quickly, we'll just break down the matches that there were on the evening and just kind of your guys' thoughts about them, as well as my own. So our first match of the night, we had LAX versus Z&E, and I'm not sure what you guys thought about this match, but I thought it was much more in line with that classic LAX, like, we're just going to go out there and brawl and bring that real street style to a match, rather than, I mean, they did do some of the high flying in this one, but right at the start of the match, like, they came out swinging, and that really seemed, for me at least, to kind of set the tone on the match itself.
I agree. We talked about it on our podcast. It started off so hot. Like, that first match was intense, and it set the tone for the night. And I think it was very classic LAX against two great synergetic high flyers like DJ and Andrew. LAX basically was showing that, hey, we got a little bit of a boost here. We got a title match. Hold that story in the ring, because it was like them trying to get that little redemption point where, okay, we've been losing, we've been getting beat down. King got a title match. All right, let's do this. We got something to prove tonight. And I think they delivered on that. I often said this LAX lineup is the best LAX lineup of all time throughout all the various incarnations of LAX. So these two guys are hungry. They show it in these matches. I feel like they really show you that they're two guys looking to make a mark. This match was no exception. This match exemplified.
Well, you mentioned it felt like a classic LAX street-style brawl, and you're right, and it was for a reason. They were getting over the point that, we're back on our game, we're bringing our A-game. Now we got King behind us. Before we fell off, we lost Conan, we were unsure of things. Things weren't working out for them, but now they've got King behind them. And this was just them, reassuring we are LAX and we are the baddest fucking tag team on the planet.
What do you guys think of the Street Sweeper finisher?
This one especially, dude, Andrew Everett just flopped like a fish.
He sold the shit out of that, hey?
Beautiful. That might have been the best one I've ever seen, honestly.
The way that I love the
intense finisher, man.
Like, I love everything about it. I love the height off the top. I love, everything. Just, the setup. Just everything about that move is just... That's a tag team finisher, period. You know it, right? When that thing is hit, that's curtains. It's so good.
I love finishers like that. The joint finishers. It reminds me of the classic, joint finishers like Doomsday Device from the Road Warriors or the heart attack.
Yeah, the heart attack, man. Yeah, I was just gonna say, even the rocker dropper, right? It just.
Yeah, I mean that. The double drop kicks from the Rock and Roll Express, or the rocket launcher from the Midnight Express. I love tandem finishers like that. Those are great, and these guys that's the tag team. That's not just two guys who are thrown together. That's what we've become accustomed to the last dozen years here is take two single stars, put them together. You're a tag team. Here's some belts.
yeah, I have to agree there. Actually,
it's these are when you see a team do finishers like that. That's a team that studies how to be a tag team. They went in being a tag team. You can tell Santana Ortiz's mindset is we're a tag team. We are LAX. So we're going to do things in sync. And that's what makes a great tag team. All the successful tag teams worked as one. And that these guys prove that totally.
I really find with these two especially that you're not kind of stuck in the, one guy's really trying to get over or one guy is more over with the crowd. With these two, the crowd is very, LAX. They chant the team, right? They don't single somebody out and they don't really gravitate one way or another, which is fantastic for them because, especially in a match like this, you can have multiple hot tags in a match and it makes sense and there's a lot of flow rather than, the crowd's waiting for that one guy to just get in there and clean house. I really like that dynamic that these two show especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our second match of the night, it wasn't much of a match, and we'll talk about the backstory after we go through the matches here, because I'm very curious what you guys thought about it, was Scott Steiner versus KM, after KM read that oddly worded letter in the middle of the ring. This match was what it was. Although I will say that I was fairly impressed with KM selling Scott Steiner's moves on this one. I'm not sure if you guys picked up on that one at all.
Yeah, I did really. That was a respect thing. I looked at KM's a guy who grew up watching Scott Steiner and was very thankful for the opportunity for the ring with him, and he was going to make him look good, play the chicken shit heel, and make Scott Steiner look good. I loved it. But I also love the letter. Kyle and I talked about it too. Get that letter. If that ever goes up on the the Impact auction site that they do the random item auction site. I don't know if you guys ever look at that.
Oh yeah, they'll auction off a broken piece of a table from a match or something like that.
Yeah, they'll have random stuff here's a signed turnbuckle that was from Lockdown, or here's the EC3 suit jacket, which my buddy Bill, as everybody knows, he's right, Mr. Front Row there. That's my buddy Bill. He got that from the auction site. So things like that. So
that's so tremendous.
Empty cocaine baggies.
What's that?
That was a bad joke. I said, how about one of Alberto Patron's empty cocaine baggies?
Oh, Jesus. You know what, I'm almost better off just not talking about that guy, like, at all, almost, but... Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, let's I feel you.
Okay, I do want to touch on the note after we're done with the matches, so keep your thoughts on that one, because I got a couple of my own, and I'm curious to see if we're all on the same wavelength here. So, our third match of the night was actually a knockouts match. We had Ty Valkyrie versus Madison Rayne, and I thought that this... I saw that this match had got quite a bit of, I don't want to say criticism, but a lot of what the hell reactions from a lot of people online, and I was I didn't understand why it was, although I do think that a lot of that came from people who are not really following the storyline or not really following that kind of slow burn building towards something. This match didn't matter about these two women in this match in particular. This match was, for myself, building Madison Rayne up to be able to take on Su Yung.
Yeah, I see that. I still feel that Madison in this spot is a bit weird to me. I just don't. If they're going for like legend versus thing, they needed to build up the legend thing a bit more. I mean, the only build we really Madison guest commentating and then stopping Tessa from going nuts, and then she was like, "Oh, she's a veteran knockout. She's here to restore some kind of order and respect here." And she beat Tessa, which I thought was wrong. But I just don't feel like they established her. I mean, I think on one hand, once the thought is what do you need to establish? She's been there so long, has left and come back. So you need to reestablish her as this legendary knockout if you're going to do this. But I just didn't see the benefit. I just don't see that where this. I see where it's going. I just don't feel like. That's all.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in the same boat. I've seen a lot of criticism over this angle specifically, and you're gonna get criticism over everything Impact does, but I'm talking about like real criticism from real Impact fans that actually love the product. I don't know if it's a matter of Madison not being over with the fans, or it's just a wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think fans wanted to see Madison Rayne in this position. And I have nothing against her. She's a veteran. She's done a lot in the knockouts division. But I get the trying to tell, the up-and-comer against the veteran story. I understand that. But it just seems like a lot of fans didn't want to see Madison. There's really I can't think of a way to dig deep into it. It just seems like people just don't like Madison Rayne. It's the only way I can explain it.
Well, I think it's not really because of that necessarily. I think it's just that the dynamic's weird because you had Su Yung feuding with Rosemary, and it's like these two demons going against each other. Then it was against Allie and transformed into something. And it was like a theme. She, like this character style feud between anybody Su Yung would square it off against. She's normal. She's just a normal, and she's like heroic, type position. It doesn't fit. Like, what's the synergy here? What's the conflict?
Yeah, like that part of it, I get. Yeah,
title shot?
I thought that was a weird caveat that they threw in there too.
Well, I'm sorry, say it again.
Like, I thought that was weird. Like the post-match promo where all of a sudden she gets the title shot, I thought was very odd. Like, that would, if anything's odd in that thing, in that whole whatever, I think that's the most odd part. Because why would oh yeah, by the way, like what they do? Did they tap her on the shoulder on her way to the ring? By the way, if you win this, you can get a title match. Like that part to me was very odd. I didn't get that. It would have been better for me for this to be a number one contenders match or have some sort of stip like that rather than it just kind of be gift wrapped for Madison. So I can understand if people are going to be mad about it, then yeah, okay, I can see that part of it. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I almost don't know. Like who else would you put in that match against Su Yung with at Slammiversary? Because
Taya, 100%. I think Taya would have been perfect. Her would have been absolutely perfect. Taya's a character. She's a really good, even though it'd be heel and heel, but still, like Taya can fit that character theme they were kind of working with Sue. Sue needs a good character to work off of. Again, I'm a huge Madison Rayne fan, but I just feel like you're doing Sue an injustice this way.
But what if she got like? So, devil's advocate here, what if at Slammiversary you have Su Yung come out and just obliterate Madison Rayne, like toss her in the casket and she's gone and you never see her again, and like really make a statement that she will just demolish anybody. It doesn't matter if you're, the Demon or kind of that bubblegum babyface or a cagey veteran. Like she'll just come in there and kill you. Like it could be, if they go that way, that could be an interesting dynamic. But
you know what they should do? You know what they should do? Now this is some Kyle insanity here for you, but real quick, some Kyle insanity. Okay, at Slammiversary, before the match, or maybe even a week before the pay-per-view, Madison Rayne starts acting real strange. Demonic possession. That's right. Rosemary's spirit invades the body of Madison Rayne. The day of the pay-per-view, Madison Rayne comes out, face paint on, and she's doing all of Rosemary's moves. And technically, you're getting Rosemary versus Su Yung. But Rosemary's spirit has invaded the meat suit of Madison Rayne. Madison really meant nothing to the story. It was really just... That. It's something strange and whacked out, but Su Yung is pretty whacked out. Rosemary's pretty whacked out. We're working outside of the box here.
I can get behind that idea. I think that's pretty bad.
And I meant it as a joke, but I think that's actually a pretty solid
idea. Legitimately, like, I was like, wait a minute. I know he's joking, but this is tremendous. Like,
a straight demonic possession, and it's just, man, who better to do it? Because you have to do it to a very sweet, innocent type person. Think of Madison Rayne. I think she would be the perfect person to carry that out. But this is just some insanity. If it actually happens, though, Impact, I want like a paycheck or something.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Definitely. That's incredible. Well, I'm backing this show up. I'm done. I'm not topping that for the rest of the night, so... Well, I guess we'll try and top that. We got one more match to get to. We had our final match of the night, Phantasma and Pentagon Jr. versus OVE. And for me, this match was more about building the story between Pentagon and Sami Callihan rather than just kind of having a tag match. I thought that the post-match stuff, especially with the partial unmasking, although they kind of got his mask off at the end of it all, was like meant way more than anything that happened in that match. I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts on it, but I just thought that this was a fantastic way to kind of further that kind of side story for Sami Callihan to get him away from Eddie for at least a little bit.
Yes, I think that one you gotta at least set up something that Sami is doing while Eddie keeps further spiraling, and that's great. You basically start setting up the future because you know clearly where it's going is Eddie's. I shouldn't say clearly where it's going. My theory is Eddie becomes the thing he hates so much he turns into Sami, and they eventually, which is going to be very, very interesting. That's just my theory on the whole thing. But Pentagon was done in AEW. We had a great on Phoenix feud in AEW. I can tell you firsthand, guy who witnessed it just mere feet away, these two have incredible chemistry. So when this pops off, this is gonna be a great focus for the program, because I know what these guys are capable of doing together.
So it's interesting. I'm with
Trent 100% on that one.
So, because you saw, or you've been up close and personal, as to say, with Pentagon, because I've not been as familiar with him coming into Impact, because I didn't really watch a whole lot of Lucha Underground, so I don't really know a ton of his backstory. But I was reading online that he's a big-time submission guy, and...
recently.
Yeah, so that's recent, right?
Yes.
So when
he's doing that more and more recently. He's got this crazy armbar submission that legit, it looks ridiculous.
That's what I was going to ask you, exactly that point, because he put it on, what was that, Jake Christ in the middle of the ring?
Yeah.
And then I saw a bunch of people going nuts about it on Twitter, like, holy shit, he's doing it here, and I was like, wait a minute, like, because I had no context of where this kind of started. So do you know when he started really working this submission style into his kind of bag of tricks?
I never watched Lucha Underground either. I started a couple episodes on Netflix. Season 1 is on there, so I just tried checking it out. I've not finished that even, but so my context with Penta is what I see at AEW, and keep up with some of our competitors and whatnot. I noticed him starting to do the armbar. I want to say maybe definitely under a year ago, maybe 7 to 9 months. When he started doing it, he turned into a big deal. Most recently at AEW a couple months ago, Eddie Hart. It was a great match, but it was a pretty match because he really that submission really took him pretty bad, for a shoot, and he got him pretty good. Scared and did some damage. He was okay, everything was fine, but you could see the shock in Teddy's face. Was definitely scared that something happened, and he ended up.
That wasn't a receipt for anything, was it? Because we all know Teddy Hart sometimes can be a little rambunctious in the ring.
Not at all. Penta and Teddy are very close. Teddy was very helpful to Penta and Phoenix in their careers. They really respected him a lot. Teddy, I saw it actually at the show. They were very respectful to each other, and they have a good friendship going on. So no, definitely not a receipt. Definitely just something that it's one of those things happen. But he was fine. Never mind. He tweaked it. They got tweaked pretty bad. But that being said, that finisher very painful. That is a very painful. So that's interesting to see that he's doing it.
What's your take, Kyle, on this Pentagon Sami Callihan match that they have booked for Slammiversary?
Well, it's I don't know if we're gonna see Pentagon walk away without his mask. I can't see that happening. I really can't. But
yeah.
this Sami Callihan character, man, there's nothing he isn't capable of. So I don't know. Looks like Sami looks like he's going a little thin on top. This might be the perfect time for him to get a free haircut. Compliments of Impact Wrestling. It's time to maybe shave off the hair a little bit, get a nice little buzz cut going. Compliments of the barber, Pentagon Jr., after a couple of Pentagon drivers and armbar submissions, so to speak. But hey, you're going to get an incredible match, because I think we're talking about two of the hottest names in professional wrestling right now. People love Pentagon. People that don't watch Impact are watching Impact just to see Pentagon and the stuff that Sami Callihan's doing. We could sit here like in its own podcast and talk for hours about the stuff Sami Callihan's doing all over the independent circuit and Impact Wrestling. But yeah, you're going to get probably a show stealer. I'll say it now. That Pentagon versus Sami Callihan is going to steal the show.
I'm with you, Kyle. I'll tell you guys this. I see a lot of stuff working at AEW, and for the most part, I'm working. I'm kind of numb to a lot of stuff. Is one wrestler I stopped dead in my tracks to watch. I mean, I know the guy. I mean, I've known him for months. We talk. He's such a polarizing figure. Pentagon is a very interesting artist, and Sami Callihan, to me right now, the absolute greatest. Is completely walking the line of show of reality versus show, and I know him too. I'm not sure what's shit. I mean, I'm part of creative moments. I'm not sure what the hell's part of the show and what's not sometimes with him. And he's fantastic. Sami Callihan is so damn talented. You do have a show stealer. I really think that Aries and Moose are going to have to super kick this up in order to keep their main event credibility.
Wait, while we're talking about this match, Trent, Taxman, you want some more Kyle Insanity for you? You want some more Kyle Insanity?
Yeah, lay it down, man, because the last one was real good.
Okay.
So let's see if you can top that.
Now, I can't top the demonic convention. I can't top that, but
that was pretty good.
Okay, here's what's going to go down here.
Pretty good.
All right, so Sami Callihan, with the help of OVE or whatever, he wins the match, and he's about to get off Pentagon's mask. Lights go out, Chris Jericho. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
That's the match he's going to show. If he's going to show up, that's how it's going to happen. That match, that's where it's going to be, I think.
And in Toronto, too? Man.
In Toronto. This is where it's going to happen. And if he's going to go after anybody on the Impact roster, it's going to be Sami Callihan first and foremost, I think. They're already setting out the feelers for it.
I'm still convinced that he will show up in Impact somehow. I'm 200% convinced that there's going to be something. I don't know what the hell it's going to be, but it's going to be something.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kyle. I feel like if Jericho shows up in Impact, there's almost nobody else that it makes sense for him to go after other than Sami Callihan, because Sami Callihan already put out that video about the Jericho Cruise, and right after, I think somebody, I can't remember, I think I was listening to the Kill in the Town podcast, actually, and they were saying that Jericho says he's banned from the cruise, and Sami Callihan's calling Scott Callis up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning every night, get me on the cruise, I'm coming on the cruise and whatever. But you can believe it, right? Like, obviously it's all a work and everybody's working it, but like, you can believe because Sami Callihan makes you believe that this motherfucker's going to do anything, whatever he wants to do. There's no telling him, no, you're not going to show up, whatever. Like, Trent, I'm a little bit worried about that AAW show that he's supposedly suspended for, because guaranteed that dude's showing up, because, you know what I mean? That's just in his character, and that's what I think it makes him so just over the top and must see, is like, he makes you believe. Everything else is a work. Sami Callihan is real. This guy is legit crazy, and it's so good.
He's threatening to show up, man. Even though he's suspended, he's threatening to show up to that show. If you saw the tweets, he's unhinged, man. Sami is unhinged, and that guy is. I'm really curious what's gonna happen with him. But he's in. I'm really curious.
Okay, so that hits all the 4 matches that we had on the card tonight, or not tonight. That was Thursday night. But there was a couple of things that I had noticed in this show itself, and I kind of wanted to pick your guys' brains about. Some of them are kind of talking points and storylines that are kind of furthering storylines, and some are just random shit that I noticed, because I'm kind of like that sometimes. So one of those things is, I don't know if you guys noticed how they lined up in the ring corners for the tag matches this week, but it's totally different than they've been doing it in every other television taping that I've probably ever seen with the company. Like, normally they have the teams in the top left-hand side corner and then the bottom right-hand side corner, and this episode it was flip-flopped, and I think that's the first time I've seen that, and I seen it, I'm like, something's weird here. And then I seen them do it in the main event match too, and I'm like, for sure they have it backwards. And I'm not sure if you guys picked up on that at all, or maybe I'm just being crazy myself.
I did not notice that. That's a great observation. Kyle, did you catch that?
No. This guy, Taxman, he's thinking on another level. I did not, and I thought I was ahead of the curve talking about the Jackass logo last week. This is something else. I didn't even notice this.
Honestly, maybe that's the genesis of that, because you paid attention and caught that, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, holy shit, he's right. So maybe there's a little bit of subliminal pay attention to the damn show, and I caught this one. But
so let me clarify here. So we're looking at the ring. You had was there one team on the bottom left and then top right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So normally when you watch a tag match on the hard camera side, so when you're watching from the hard camera, you'll have your one team on the top left corner, and then you'll have the opposing team on the bottom right corner. And both matches on the card on Thursday, it was flip-flopped.
Interesting.
Go back and watch it, and maybe it'll bug you. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll be like, fuck that guy. I don't want to talk about it. Another thing I wanted to pick your guys' brains out about is the whole KM and Falaba thing that they had. So we had the note, which I agree, if that thing goes on auction, that's a tremendous piece of memorabilia, by the way. But so does it seem like they kind of rushed this thing along too fast, or am I like, did I read too much into this, or because I kind of wanted to see where these guys would go as the comedy team without it being like, haha, this is stupid bullshit, whatever. Like, I really thought they had something pairing up these two as that comedy kind of duo, and I really thought that it had brought the best out of KM, to be honest, in terms of personality, because I thought he was dead as a doorknob before, but he was really incredible with the Falaba stuff, so I'm not sure where they go from this one, but am I reading too much to think that they're really rushing this thing through?
I think it's been rushed since day one, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely those training skits and the makeover stuff. Oh my god, the one in particular where they're walking backstage and they see Kira Hogan and he stops Fala and he puts the sunglasses on. He like strut walks over to him. I can't get enough of that one. I absolutely love it, but I think from the beginning, the whole thing was a little rushed. I mean, he went from fat-shaming him 1 week in a row, and then out of nowhere, it's like, I want to help you. I want to be your buddy. And it's like, can we trust him? Can we trust him? And then it turned out he was genuine. He really wanted to be his friend. What was the turning point in that? There was no actual turning point of hook him up. Like he had a vision about, maybe I am being too hard on this guy, or he's not a bad guy. Fat shame to, I'm going to help you. I want to help you. Paula being hesitant. We had a couple weeks of them being buddies, and it was like a great like buddy cop movie almost happening.
I love the clip of them screaming at each other's faces, where he's like, hysterical. Like, I would love a GIF of that, them just screaming at each other.
I think there is one. I think Fala did tweet one out. But then, out of nowhere, like, the match they had like 2 weeks ago, they were hugely over. The crowd was loving it.
Yeah, they were so over.
Did what do they call it? The Panda Express roll, whatever he calls it. Like, KM does the roll 2-3 times. Everybody was going nuts. And out of nowhere, that's it. Like, we're gonna just kill it like that. I don't know. The thing is moving. It moves really fast. And I'm like, these guys stretched out more. These guys they're gold together. I mean, they're really good buddies. They're like damn near best friends. For a shoot. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think that this is the end of them two. I think this might be, more stories, more trials and tribulations of their friendship. They're going through some rocky times, but I think that they're going to become a more cohesive unit moving down the line. And I could be wrong, but it's just a perfect fit for each other. I mean, you have a hilarious tag team with them, too. There's 2 guys on the roster that seems like the company wasn't too sure what they were doing with, and they're a perfect fit. I can't see why they'd be splitting them up for good. I think this is just a little bump in the road. That's what I think.
Well, here's hoping, because like I said, I thought that these two were just dynamite together, and I really thought that they were just scratching the surface on what they could be, not just in terms of the comedy part, but in terms of just creating characters that, like, Falaba is already a lovable guy. I want to see more, right? KM finally showing flashes of personality that you've heard about before, and I want to see more of that as well. And speaking about personality, and shout out to your guys' other boy, Chef, because we're going to talk about that LAX Clubhouse promo and the return of Conan. What did you guys make of this?
This is interesting. This whole they're clearly building up something. I really don't know where it's going. We're kind of stuck. I mean, we're led to believe some underhanded shit here. So everybody's questioning him. Conan's hesitant. Diamante's questioning him. But he's delivering results. Things are happening. He's getting the tag belts. All their businesses up. All that stuff is working. There's something right. I don't know. I like that I don't know anything about it. I like that I don't know where it's going. I have zero I had one prediction that Homicide is behind the whole thing. That plot twist, they keep dropping Homicide's name. Turns out he was the one pulling the string, and he, maybe he turned on Conan or something. Who knows? That was a loose prediction. It wasn't much of one had, but that's about it. Otherwise, I have no idea where it's going. What do you think, Kyle?
Kyle Insanity, Chef was the one behind the whole thing. No. You know what? I'm a big fan of LAX, and I love these segments, these clubhouse segments. I think these are better than the Aces and Eights ones from years ago. I love what they're doing with this, and the thing with King, he's King now. I don't think they're calling him Eddie Kingston anymore. It seems like they've been establishing that he's King. They're calling him King. It's kind of like just like a gangsta, like hood, like mob movie, like playing out in the show. It's cool, man. I could watch these clubhouse segments all day long, but it's like this classic tale of King taking out the Don so he could go for that top spot, but he didn't finish off the Don, and the Don's coming back and confronting him, and this is really, really good stuff. And it's another thing that I really want to note here is that the way they're handling it, it's very, very organic in the sense that I feel like in the past when it comes to wrestling creative and handling like urban gangsta like type content, the street stuff, usually wrestling companies tend to just botch it and just fill it with just over-exaggerated stereotypes to a point where
crime time. Crime time.
Yeah. And even in TNA's history, some of the stuff that Russo put together was just like was it like Mexican America? Like sometimes they would go a little too far with like the exaggerated stereotypes and like just what the kind of characters they're putting together, but all right, there are certain aspects that like they're like a cartel or whatever, but LAX, like, they come off very, very organic and down to the little touches where like Taxman, I don't know how well versed you are in gangster rap, but they don a big pun flag, and like I don't live too far from the Bronx. That's actually where LAX is from, and when you go to the very, very Spanish part of the Bronx, that flag with Big Pun's body on it, like, they really do have that around everywhere. Like, that guy, Big Pun, is all over, like, people's T-shirts, stickers. Like, this guy is, like, a total legend in the Bronx. His name is spray-painted on corners. And it's just, like, it's cool to see them handle it. And it's not cheesy or corny. Like, it's actually organic, where my guy, Chef, he's street, I guess you'd say. He's hood. He's Mr. Chef. He's a gangster. And this is this type of stuff that engages him. And it's just Impact knocking off, like, different demographics and connecting and not flopping with it. So it's like, I really love what they're doing with LAX. But the story they're telling now with King, oh, my God, it's just going to get awesome from here.
There's one line in particular in that promo that had really caught my attention, and it's when King and Conan were face to face, and King was trying to explain himself away about I don't remember what the exact line that he said before, but Conan came back with something like, "I already gave you New York, like, kind of what more do you want?" He's kind of like alluding to, like, are you really here to try and take over my business, you know? And like, I just thought, like, just genius lines like that, just like I picked up on that immediately. I'm like, wow, like what a fantastic piece of business to put in there. Like, and they and not only
subliminal with like the references to drug dealing and stuff like that. Like they know there's a thin line, and like they know the line they can't cross, but they leave things to your imagination, and like little lines like that, it kind of just paints a bigger picture in your head of like, you just picture like Eddie Kingston on the streets of New York in an LAX shirt, like handling gang business, you know, like it's cool.
Well, and you brought up the Big Pun aspect of this, and did I read somewhere that is it Big Pun's son or his cousin or something is down with those guys? Is down with LAX?
No, well, I know that they're big fans of his. Big Pun's son, Chris Rivers, his name is that he goes by. Chris Rivers, he's also a rapper following his dad's footsteps. And LAX, I follow Ortiz and Santana on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And, I mean, they're just really big fans of the guy's music. I saw, like, maybe a month or two ago, Santana was at, like, a Big Pun parade, like, hanging out with the flag and, like, just, so I don't know what their actual affiliation to the guy is, but if I were Impact Management, I would contact this kid, Chris Rivers, and be like, hey, we got this going on, so and so, blah blah blah. We would love to get like a theme song, like get a theme song from them. Hey, even have them perform it at like Slamversary or something, just connect, and just see when you're operating a wrestling company, like you wanna connect in other, you want to channel other, just. You don't want to come off as corny and cheesy, I guess. Like, actually, get some... it's rare in wrestling where you get, like, rap music that isn't totally cheesy. Like, it's something that's actually got some street cred to it,
And especially somebody like from that specific kind of lineage, and especially associated with LAX, like, that's your bread and butter. Like, that's your demographic. That's who you're producing those segments for. So it would make perfect sense to branch out to someone like that and bring him in, even if it's just a one-off, whatever, right? But it just makes total sense.
That's their credibility.
Yeah, 100%. What's, like you said, what's more street than bringing somebody who's street in?
Exactly.
So, was there anything else in this episode that you guys caught on, excluding the Eddie Edwards thing? So, was there anything else that kind of caught your guys' eyes in this one that you want to touch on quick?
I'm trying to think if there's anything we missed that we hadn't covered. I do like the show's transitions, the graphics. I think it's real crisp. I like how the show flow has been. Team in place, it's been really nice, and every week I feel they get better and better by with the graphics and the animations and the lighting and the way they shoot the crowd, the way they shoot camera angles. The new Tron way, like that shot, made to look bigger, bigger than it is, and so I like it. I think the visual aspect of the show has constantly evolving too, which is nice.
How about yourself, Kyle?
Whew, I mean, really, I think we really knocked everything out here, but just when I walk away from an episode like this, I just think, man, Impact Wrestling is the shit, and they're firing on all cylinders. You got great creative. You have a great roster. I felt like they had like maybe less matches on the card, so each match felt a little bit longer, telling more stories, giving more product, but also putting plenty of backstage, plenty of vignette, plenty of video package. I just really love what they have right now because I feel like there's just so much versatility in the product. There's something for everybody. Want some hard hitting, total in-ring, just high-flying stuff. You got that. You want to laugh a little. They have good comedy stuff, the stuff with Followed By KM. You're like, Chef, you want that hardcore street shit. You got LAX, women's wrestling, the whole entire world has to offer. Right now I feel like Impact has something for everybody, and they're firing on all cylinders. But what I was saying to Trent earlier today is they just need a more alive crowd. They need a bigger crowd. That's the only thing missing from the product when I see it on television. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. It sucks when you have a really good match in the ring and the crowd is colder than a banker's heart. It's so bad. Like, you're sitting here watching it on TV and you're like, are we watching the same thing? And it just kind of takes you out of it a little bit. It's just, for me, it's terrible.
Yeah, like the crowd's iffy, man. I've been in the Impact Zone several times, and you never know what you're going to get. You do have the regulars who are a good foundation in there, keep things up and lively, but the rest, I mean, there was some. I mean, this episode, the crowd was I loved it. I'm like, cool. Week before there was some dead moments. I mean, it all depends. You never know. I'm looking forward to Canada. I'm really looking forward to the Windsor tapings. I am really excited to see what the crowd's like for Windsor.
Yeah, I have to agree. If there's one thing that apparently is noticeably different, according, like, I don't really read a lot of the spoiler stuff. I try and stay away from it. But the one thing I did hear overwhelmingly was that the crowd was really hot for the whole set of taping. So I really do hope that translates well on TV. I know sometimes it seems like it's kind of hard to get that energy to translate on television. So I'm kind of hoping that it does, because yeah. Like I said, it's tough when you have such a good match in the ring and you're just like, oh, if the crowd was just that little bit extra X factor, like, it could make a good match a great match, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like I said at the top of the show, normally I would do a 4 thoughts segment, but because there are 3 of us, we'll do kind of just a 3 thoughts segment for the episode this week. So just, it could be anything. It could be somebody you'd like to see come into the company, something that they're doing right, that they're not, that you'd like to see improve, or something that you want to see more of. So, for example, my thought is just, a few weeks ago or maybe it was a bit longer than that, on Twitter they had started doing the hashtag #WeAreImpact, and they really seemed like they were trying to build that community feel amongst Impact Wrestling fans. And then, to me, it really started to kind of catch on, and then they kind of abandoned it. So, for me, I would like to see Impact get back to really trying to include the fans in kind of that community feel, because I feel like now and let's be honest, it's not the biggest viewing audience ever, which is not a bad thing either, because if you have a small, passionate viewing audience, at least it's better than a large, bitchy viewing audience, if you will. But so I would kind of like to see them get back to trying to really build that grassroots community support, especially if they are going to be going out and doing tapings in Windsor, or in Toronto, or in different cities, like say they go to Chicago or something, for example, to have that grassroots movement of people that are going to, hey, Impact's coming to my city, I'm going to bring so-and-so, and then they're going to tell 4 friends, and then all of a sudden this becomes something totally different, rather than just relying on, the standard, wrestling fans are going to watch wrestling kind of aspect of it. So that's kind of something that I would like to see them kind of get back into. I feel like this is a perfect time to exploit it for sure. Is there anything that you guys kind of are looking forward to or looking for from the company in the near future?
I think you need more male demo, more tits, more bikini contests. No, I'm just kidding. The late night time ago. I'm just kidding, boys. But no, you know what, man? I just want to see consistency. Like, I love the product. I think it's great. I mentioned before, the crowds could be better, but that's not something that's going to be healed or fixed overnight. It's going to take time. But I want to see consistency. And what I mean by that is, I love the product. It seems to get better and better every week, but I want consistency in the sense that I don't want to read stories, no funding, blah, 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 Don Callis has quit the company, now he's trying to buy it from them in court. Like, I don't want any horror stories, and that's this black cloud followed the company for so long, and it seems like it's finally letting off, and I just want to see them, keep just moving upwards and onwards, man. I don't want any bullshit. You don't want to feed the trolls, first of all, and it creates a toxic environment for the fans. I don't want any of that stuff. I can just hope that they just keep progressing and getting better and better, because I think they're doing a hell of a job.
And how about yourself, Trent?
I'd like to see more partner shows like they're doing for the one night onlys or Twitch specials. I think that's a great way to rebuild credibility and trust with the fan base by going to like a hot and kind of winning their fans over, and saying, hey, we had some setbacks, but here, look what we're doing here. Selfishly, I'd like to be AW, and I know it's for it to happen, and hopefully it can happen, because we're in the Midwest, and I know it's a big market they'd like to tap into, so selfishly, for that to happen. But I think I'd like to see at least one co-op show or one night only, whatever, once a month at least.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that would definitely be a way to go. All right, so we'll wrap this thing up for this evening. Just if you guys want to throw out a couple of plugs while we're at it.
Definitely follow us on Twitter at the HEADZ Network, HEADZ NETWORK. Follow us. Stay in the loop with our podcast, all the content we're dropping. We have a lot of stuff planned, a lot of good stuff coming, interviews included. We got some Impact alumni. I'll tease it real quick. We got Bram coming on. We got an interview with Bram coming out soon, so just stay in tune for that. We have a lot of things planned. That as far as us, follow us on Twitter. That's what I like to focus on, our Twitter page. But Trent, you got some plugs. Plug some of your projects, Trent.
Okay, I got a lot going on, so I'm gonna go run down this list pretty quick. You can follow me on my personal Twitter at Vanilla Joke. Just how it's spelled. It's not a vanilla Coke, it's a vanilla joke. You can follow my band, Hemi Music. It's that's the username on Instagram, Facebook. I have my second band, which is Toxic Rocket. You can follow that as well. AAW Pro on all the social medias. I run a lot of social media, so if you like stuff on there, that's me doing it for AAW. So take a look. Instagram there. That's a big focus of mine is AAW Instagram. And then those are my plugs. Kyle doesn't want to plug anything other than the Twitter, but follow us on Facebook also, HEADZ Network, Instagram, because hey, numbers are numbers, right? And we want to connect with all of you.
That's a little internal struggle within itself. We'll shed some more light on that another time. But follow HEADZ Network all over the place, man.
All over the place. HEADZ Network's username.
And bring back male demo, cage dancers, bring them back.
Yeah, I want to see car washes, nude car washes, and all that kind of fucking Jesus Christ.
Days, man, the cage dancers.
Oh
man.
My God.
Well, we got to plug. Wait, Cal, we forgot to plug the YouTube channel. We're putting all our shows up here too.
Of course, the most important one.
HEADZ Network on YouTube, so we'll take a look. You'll see all the show reviews on there from us. But yes, going back to cage dancers, absolutely.
Bring back.
Oh yeah, next thing you know, we're gonna be booking Russo to book the show too. My God, bro.
I'm a fan of Vince Russo, man. What anybody wants to hate me after that, go ahead. I think Vince Russo's an interesting character. He's different, man.
Well, regardless of your associations, Trent, I think you're a killer dude, and Kyle, man, the work that you do for the HEADZ Network is top notch, man. You put on a hell of a show every week, and it's really a pleasure of mine to be able to listen to you every single week. So, sound effects notwithstanding, it's just a tremendous show, and you put a lot of time and effort into it, man.
I really do. And, I love your stuff as well, man. Six-sided podcast. Let's keep the relationship going forward. Let's do more shows together.
I have to agree. I very much look forward to chopping it up with you guys in the future. But until then, I will thank you guys both very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having us.
It's an honor, man. Thank you for having us on.
My pleasure. So I hope that it translated as well on audio as it did in the moment. I honestly had such a blast talking to Trent and Kyle. There was a few things that I had to leave in the podcast that, oh man, if you guys only knew. But like I said, that was a ton of fun having the two of them on. Please, you guys, make sure you follow their show, the HEADZ Network. You can follow Trent at Vanilla Joke. That's on Twitter. You can find Kyle at the HEADZ Network. That's at HEADZ Network. And even though he wasn't on the show, you can follow their boy Chef at Heel Team 6, number 6, Chef, CHEF. Now that about does it for my show this evening, because we did go quite long, but once again, when the audio is that good and you're having that much fun, it just, everything kind of flows so naturally. And case in point, I almost made Kyle late for his night shift job, but once again, I very much appreciate those guys for joining me. I hope you guys had a ton of fun listening to it, and make sure you check out their Impact Review show every week on the HEADZ Network, because like I said, Kyle does a hell of a job putting that one together, and it's really just a complete pleasure to listen to a show like theirs. Just fans of Impact talking passionately about the program. It's a win-win for everybody. So for Kyle, for Trent, for myself, the Taxman, I will leave you as I do every week. Take care of yourselves and each other. Good night, everyone.